Thank you for joining us on our QTV Business and Economy program. The Business and Economy program is intended to promote the ideals of a corporate Gambia identity with the objective of forging partnerships through dialogue between the public and private sector, civil society organizations, and the business and the international community. We continue on our serialization episodes on the business environment, and today we shall be talking about governance, but from the perspective of the municipalities. To help us better understand and appreciate governance as it obtains at the level of the municipalities, we have invited His Lordship, the former Mayor of Banjul, and also former Ambassador of the Gambia to Senegal, Dr. Samba Fall. By way of introduction, His Excellency Dr. Samba Fall holds a diploma honors in journalism and mass communication from the School of Journalism and TV from Frilsham, Berkshire, United Kingdom. Dr. Fall received his BA in journalism and an MA in political science from Roosevelt University, Chicago of the United States of America. Dr. Fall also attended Hesjag Peace Research College, Hesjag, Odense, Denmark, where he studied peace and conflict resolution. Dr. Fall was awarded a doctorate degree in governance by the International Center for Transformational Leadership in Ghana for his scholarly works and his contribution on good governance. Dr. Fall's doctoral thesis was on comparative politics and political theory, and his thesis, entitled Flight Lieutenant Jerry Rawlins and the Politics of Populism in Ghana. Dr. Fall has authored other publications, notably At the Crossroads, a book of poems, Political World Union, 1968 to 1982, and I have seen a memoir which is yet to be published but expected to be published soon. Dr. Fall served as an intern at the headquarters of the Emergency World Council Movement for Political World Union in The Hague, Netherlands, where he later rose to the rank of office manager and editor of the bi-monthly news publication Political World Union. In the Gambia, Dr. Fall has served at all levels of government, spanning from the First to the Second Republic. He has served as town clerk CEO for 8 years and as mayor of Banjul for 12 years. At central government, he has served as Minister for Youth, Sports and Religious Affairs for 5 years and has also served as Diplomat Ambassador of the Gambia in Senegal for a year with accreditation to Mali and Burkina Faso. Dr. Fall is a founding member and was president of the Gambia Association of Local Government Authorities, GALGA, and an executive member of the Pan-African Council of the United Cities of Local Government Authorities. He also served as president of the World Conference of Mayors. Dr. Fall is presently a private consultant on governance and a lecturer at the University of the Gambia, School of Journalism and Digital Media. Dr. Fall, a warm welcome to you on the Business and Economy program.
Thank you very much.
And let's get started. I read with keen interest your interview on The Point newspaper. Yes. And this was around the time of the mayoral elections, yes, in which, of course, platforms were being given to the various aspirants for them to share their manifesto and their plans if they were to be elected mayor of the respective municipalities for which they were vying for. And you had indicated on your interview on the Point newspaper that most of the aspirants during the campaign did not appreciate the role, mandate, and responsibilities of the mayoral position. Pretty much they were not in tune with the responsibilities of the mayoral position. Actually, you had gone to the point of saying that the mayoral position was primarily ceremonial. But then again, you had aspirants who were making promises in terms of what they would do if they were to be elected mayor. Could you expand in efforts to provide clarity as to the reason why you held that view?
Thank you very much, Mr. Roberts. I think, like you said, prior to the local government elections, there were a lot of aspiring candidates, and they had platforms trying to at least get the votes of the electorates, and they have their manifestos. But what I have observed is that as a local government practitioner, is that most of them actually did not understand or do not understand the workings of councils. They don't understand the roles of the mayors, and they have no idea of the administrative setup and the legislative setup in the councils. And I believe that if you want to go into something, the first thing that you should do is to find out what you are getting into. To most of them, council is just like any institution, any other institution. And that is not the case. Councils are social service delivery institutions. They are not profit-making institutions. So if you want to see councils as economic entities, and you want to work within the scope of councils being commercial enterprises, then you are bound to fail. And I think most of the candidates were working or were in that line of thinking. They actually didn't understand what the role of the mayor was. As I said, and it's the fact, the mayor's role is ceremonial. There is no executive functions. The powers of the councils is vested among the councillors, on the councillors themselves, and on the council itself. And when we say the council, it is a combination of the mayor and all the other councillors.
You are a consultant on governance, and you make a very important point in terms of your observations during the mayoral campaign. And if that is indeed the case, that most of the aspiring candidates did not appreciate and have a good understanding of their mandate, that in itself is a recipe for failure as long as governance is concerned. This is our second episode on governance as it is. So what you're saying is that governance in itself is a challenge at the level of the municipalities. Do you agree with that position?
Yes, I totally agree. And generally, governance, we have failure in governance in general terms, because governance is not just going and voting for somebody every 4 years for mayor, every 5 years for president, or every 5 years for National Assembly member. Election is just an event. It comes and goes. It's a one-day event. But governance is a process, and the process is continuous. And how do you work on the governance or on your governance structures? The first thing is not in isolation. It's not those who are elected versus those who are the electors. It's a combination of both. And those that are to elect their leaders have to be conscious of what their roles are and why they are electing their leaders. They have to be informed. But the general atmosphere at the local level, at the national level, is that people are not informed, so that they would be in a position to make better choices. Even those who are to elect the mayors don't know what the role of their councils are. And it is very common, I'm sorry to say, for ordinary people to just castigate municipal authorities, accusing them of corruption, and then there are no valid evidences to show that there is some degree of corruption, maybe because of service delivery constraints. And yet, they don't want to know why there are those service delivery constraints. And those who are there are not actually making efforts to reach out to the people. And when it comes to reaching out to the people, there is a people's representative, the councillors, who are the political arm or the legislative arm of the council, are the direct representatives of the people. And they should be informed to be in a better position to inform their electorates. But if you are not informed, how can you inform or educate your electorate? So there is a mismatch, you know.
Okay. Now, let us, given the focus of this episode relating to the governance at the level of the municipalities,
Yes.
let us try to sort of limit the scope of our discussion in that regard. And here I also want to pinpoint the point again, going back to your interview on the Point newspaper, in which you highlighted that most of the aspirants, if not all of the aspirants, at the time did not, as per their campaign promises, did not show, in terms of their promises, a thorough understanding and a thorough appreciation of what their roles and mandates are, as long as the position for which they were vying for is concerned. And this is where I'm now saying, if that is the case, then that in itself is a recipe for failure in terms of how you govern the municipalities, as it were.
It's a fact. As I try to explain here, the councils are corporate entities, in the sense that they have continuous succession. They can sue and be sued like all other corporate entities. But then when you talk about the council, there is a division or a delineation of the administrative and the legislative. The administrative sex or side is headed by the CEO and the support staff, and they mainly implement policies and decisions of council. Then the policy formulation side is the legislative, and that is the mayor and the councillors. They set policies. And at the end of the day, it is the CEO who works with the mayor to implement those policies on behalf of the council. So in general terms, when somebody is aspiring to become a mayor of a municipality, and all what I have been hearing is I. The I alone cannot do it. You alone cannot do it. You cannot impact any changes in your community. You don't have the power. Even if you have the ideas, you cannot impose your ideas on the rest of the councillors. It's a combination of you and other councillors. And you work together, formulate policies, and then come to an agreement, reach consensus, and then the administrative cadre implement. So if you are out there, you want to come into the council, and then you have these ideas about building a tall bridge for cars coming into Banjul, and then every car coming into Banjul paying to the municipality of Banjul. That's not your mandate. And even you alone as the mayor cannot do that. Or you go to the people and then you tell them that when I become mayor, I'm going to provide free care, free health care to the entire population, people of Banjul. Even your own council, you cannot cater for the health care needs of your staff, more so the whole municipality. So that shows that you have not actually done your homework. And we see the politics of deception creeping in, as it has always been. So it's like, Nila won, this is how it used to be, so therefore we just go by that.
How do we address that issue of the politics of deception? Is there a way that that can be addressed, whether it is at the local level or at the national level? What do you prefer?
Of course, there are two different schools of thought in development. You have the politics of development and the politics of deceit. And what is the politics of deceit? You go to the people, you tell them a lie, you make it big, you repeat it often, and at the end of the day, the majority of people will believe you. But that's not sustainable. Sooner or later down the line, the people will realize that, all what he has been telling us is not true. But on the other hand, you have the politics of development. And what is the politics of development? You have an idea, you conceptualize something, and then you go to the people, you share it with the people, and then you work with the people to achieve those things that you have collectively worked together to conceive. So it becomes a common ownership of the program or the project. And that is sustainability. If there is failure, then it's not you alone. It's all of us, because there was an input. And that is the spirit of local government. And that is the spirit of the Local Government Act. And that is why the Local Government Act in the Constitution, the Constitution says in section 193 that local government administration in the Gambia shall be based on democratically elected councils with a high degree of local autonomy. Democratically elected councils. It does not say somebody, you know, that the council belongs to somebody. And the I instinct has to be eliminated for the we instinct. It's collectivity. In fact, the council, the act all along talks about the people, like the Constitution. The people are supreme. The people are sovereign. And everything that is done has to be done in the name and in the interest of the people. So you cannot come to a council where all of you are elected and then you want to usurp the powers of all your other elected colleagues and then become the supreme head. That is dictatorship. That is tyranny.
Let me make reference to your interview again. And here I would want to quote you as for that interview, where you said that the mayor supervises the activities of the council on a daily basis, but the supervision is based on resolutions that are passed by the council. And it is the mandate of the mayor to work with the administration to make sure that those resolutions are implemented. Pretty much, you know, you towing the same line here in terms of your views. But who bears, if the mayor is a ceremonial position, who bears the authority at the level of the municipality? Is it shared, or is there, who would you say has that authority? Is it from the administrative or from the legislative side?
All right, one of the biggest shortcomings of the Local Government Act was that it created a situation where a mayor is elected by universal adult suffrage, you know, by the general populace. That is giving the person who is elected some degree of executive authority. But then the election of the mayor does not, the role of the mayor now does not actually consummate with the powers that have been vested to the mayor. So that is why when it comes to power, the power base of council, where does the power lie? I think it is very clear. The CEO is, to a certain degree, the most powerful in the council, the administrative head, from what we see, the interpretation of the act. Because the mayor is there, councillors conceive their projects at the community level. It comes to, passes through the various committees of council. If it is a normal functional council. And then finally it goes to the general council, where the mayor chairs, which the mayor chairs. And at the general council, resolutions are passed on behalf of the council. And once the resolutions are passed, let's say we want to build a car park, the resolution is passed, then that is where the job of the councillor stops. Then it is the mayor, as the head of the council, the legislative arm of council, that works with the administration to implement the resolution of the council as per the construction of a car park. And in the process of supervising, He cannot add any jimbo to it, and he cannot reduce any jimbo from it. It's like if there is no, if it is $1,000, you make sure that $1,000 is spent. The mayor cannot direct the administration to add butut on top of it. The mayor is just a servant of the council. So he has a supervisory role, you know, but the supervisory role is a delegated function that he does on behalf of the council. So in essence, you know, it's just that he is there on full-time basis to make sure that the issues, resolutions of council are implemented. Otherwise, if nobody is there, then maybe there wouldn't have been, the implementation process would have been stalled. So in essence, the mayor is just ceremonial.
Yes. Now, you are a former mayor of Banjul. From your experience as a mayor, and you've been mayor for 12 years, quite an impressive tenure as it is in the Gambia. What would you say are the three biggest challenges confronting the municipalities today, or even yesterday?
All right, I think one of the main challenges of the municipality is capacity. Capacity is one. And I will elaborate why capacity. Capacity at the level of the councillors, the legislative arm. Just like I said, if you don't know what you are going into, you will not be able to influence decisions or make an impact. And secondly, capacity at the level of the administration. Those two are stumbling blocks. Then, if you don't have that capacity, then you move on to revenue mobilization. There is not enough revenue coming into the municipalities. For that also you need very, very, how to call it, strong minds or people who are well informed to be able to conceive ways of really improving the revenue of the councils. And also you have very good administrative staff as technicians that will also help you in the formulation of programs and projects that will help attract revenue. Then the other thing is relationship with the center.
The center as in central government?
As in central government. Councils are seen as appendages of the center. Therefore, they are virtually controlled by the center. So this notion of decentralization, this notion of councils having autonomy is just a lip service. What we have in the Gambia, as we speak right now, is what I would call centralized decentralization. You know, decentralization is the devolution of power, both resources, material and human resources, to other lower tiers of government. But here, the central bureaucrats pay lip service to decentralization. Let's give powers to the council. The councils are autonomous, but yet they hold onto the power at the center, and they micromanage the councils. So that is a stumbling block. And when the councils have problems, they don't stand for the councils, especially when it comes to allocation of resources, you know, and the relationship between the center, between the councils and the executive. The councils cannot go directly to central government. There is a line ministry, and that is the Ministry of Local Government. And if they are not key players in the interface between the councils and central government, then the councils are just there with their normal routine of collecting and spending, and when the center coughs, then that is the time that they trample on the councils. You have to do this. But on normal circumstances, everything is just as usual. You know, life goes on. So these are challenges. But there are problems also. Maybe we'll come to those problems later.
Now, the municipalities continue to be scolded by its residents in terms of the municipalities failing on their responsibilities on a number of issues. I mean, trash collection is one, provision of feeder roads, even garages that you mentioned, building of car parks, garbage and refuse management, provision of sanitary services at municipality markets, among a host of others. You have served as a mayor. What would you ascribe are the reasons and the challenges why the municipalities, irrespective of municipality, you go to Banjul, it's the same challenge. You come to KMC, it's the same challenge. You go to Birkama, it's the same challenge. You know, why is it that we have these challenges? Does it have anything to do with the challenges that you alluded to earlier as to the reasons why municipalities
No, I believe that the whole local government system in the Gambia has to be revamped. Frankly speaking, the whole local government system has to be revamped. And the first thing that has to be done is to have an interface between the people, the electorates, not more so, because elections come and go. When you talk about electorates, you're talking about those that vote. Let's say the communities and their councils. They have to meet and then pave a way so that they know what the problems are and what the issues are. It is very common for people to say, I need a funfidara. These people have not done anything. But landing fi wara def. What should they do? You cannot tell the people, or the people will not tell you what the municipalities should have done and they have not done. And even if they tell you, sun balit mangini, we have garbage everywhere. But then they don't know where the revenue comes from. To a lot of people, the municipalities are giving subventions, or the government gives monies to the municipalities to take care of their problems. One. And then the other issue is that they think the municipalities are sitting on gold mines with the taxes that they collect. Most of the ratepayers are in default. They don't pay their rates, they don't pay their taxes. The revenue from the markets and car parks, markets are inadequate to take care of the added responsibilities that the municipalities should render to the communities. So there has to be a partnership between central government and the municipalities. You know, there is a social contract between the municipalities, the elected representatives of the people and the people. But there is also another contract between the municipalities and government. And government is not actually fulfilling its part of the social contract, of the contract. So at the end of the day, when the electorate or the communities blame the municipalities, then the center, instead of coming to the aid of the municipalities, will just sacrifice the municipalities to the communities. You know, for political, as a political, to gain political scores.
You made the point in terms of the contracts that exist between the electorate and the councils or the municipality, but between the municipality and central government. Could you elaborate on the bit regarding the contract between the municipality and the central government? What are we talking of here?
All right. One, the municipalities are not well endowed in terms of resources. It is the responsibility of government to subvent the municipalities. And it is clearly stated in the act that the government should give grants and grant in aids and general grants to the municipalities to take care of certain decentralized functions from central government. And then, secondly, a municipality or a city like Banjul. Banjul is not just a municipality of its own, but it is also the capital city. And the government has a big stake. So the government there has dual functions and dual responsibilities to the city. They pay their rates to the city, just like all other municipalities. And at the same time, they have a responsibility to take care of the city. It is the seat of government and it is the capital city. So their investment should be twofold. Their relationship with the municipality as a municipality and their relationship with the city as the seat of government and the capital of the Gambia. But in most cases, government is not actually fulfilling its role.
Well, I could, for the purpose of argument, take the position to defend government here and say, well, the Gambia is a developing country and the government in itself does not have sufficient financial resources. It's not endowed to the point where it can take care of its own, obligations vis-a-vis the citizenry, much more to talk of supporting, council. So in that regard, perhaps council need to be a little bit more innovative in trying to see what it could do to help bring about an enhancement of their revenue streams, from within which they could now perhaps live up to expectation as long as their mandates are concerned.
But even with that, the revenue basis of councils, as I told you, particularly in Banjul, is very limited in scope. And the responsibilities are greater. The investment on the responsibilities is greater than the revenue that is accrued in taxes. And you cannot just come and say, now we have to increase taxes because we have to do A, B, and C. The central government will be the first institution or authority to say, no, you cannot increase taxes. We have had that on several occasions. Well, they determine how much you should tax.
Well, businesses are crying that there is the burden of tax, is quite overtaxing, and that actually brings me, to my other point, because when I asked in terms of what are what you would consider to be the three challenges confronting municipalities, you mentioned the issue of capacity, whether it is at the level of council or whether it is at the level of administration. But you equally pointed out revenue mobilization.
Yes.
Now, I must admit that during the mayoral campaign, the current mayor of KMC did, during his campaign engagements, said that he believed that KMC, as it were, from the revenue sources that exist, could make up to $1 billion. I'm sure you must have heard of that.
Yes.
So the fact that revenue mobilization is a challenge, and the fact that he has, promised that he could mobilize, the revenue streams of the municipality, KMC, in this regard, could be enhanced to $1 billion, I think that in itself perhaps is the creativity and the innovation that the municipalities need to look into if there is going to be any change, considering the fact that government is not meeting its obligation as long as the contract between the municipality and government is concerned.
Yeah, but that is just an estimation. I can just come and say I will increase the revenue to 75 billion, but that doesn't make it that I will be able to do it. I have seen that the potential is there, but I cannot say that I will bring it to this level. I can say I can raise the revenue to this level. And before you talk about your revenue projections, also look at your expenditure. Those two go together. Where your expenditure is more than your revenue, then you have a deficit. And if the expenditure is actually a necessity, that you have to give, you must have to give it. And in doing so, you end up being in a deficit a situation, you know. So I think it's not a blame game. When it comes to municipal administration, there is no blame game. The center has to take its responsibilities. I'm not holding brief for municipalities. I'm not holding brief to councils because I know we have our own problems. You know, I have been there and I know the problems, the capacity, the level of councillors, the level of the administration. You have shortcomings, you know, because these are the people who are the brains, who are the technicians that are supposed to think and develop the municipality. And if you have one person there who has the brain and the rest don't have it, or you have few who have it and the others don't have it, you have problems. So it is a combination of the a tripartite. I call it a tripartite arrangement. The central government, the local government authorities, and the communities. They all have to come together. Let the communities take care of their responsibilities. Let them pay their taxes. And at the same time, not only pay their taxes, but then monitor how their taxes are being spent. And that is why I'm saying that there is a mismatch between the communities, you know, what is said or what the communities are told about the municipalities or what they know about the municipalities and what is the reality. And there are councils that are going there to represent them also don't actually know what their functions are when they go there. It's just like we are just there to attend meetings, you know. They are not seeing themselves as change agents or development agents. It's just routine. This is how it has been. I am a councillor. I am a mayor. I just go to council. We have meetings. I get my allowances. I go back to my community. If the people want to see me to talk about their problems, they would tell them, go to the mayor, go to the council, instead of them working with the communities to find a solution to their problems. And at the end of the day, it is there. You have to report to your community how much the money the council collects. I don't want to, let me give you an example, a practical example. When I was mayor of Banjul, in one of the depressed areas in Banjul, the community came to see me. And they told me that for some time, the lighting system in their community, the lighting system was down. And in the mornings, all right, these old men and women go to early in the morning, they go to the mosque for Fajr prayers. But the lights are off. So I told them, that's no problem. That is something that has to be fixed. And that will not be tolerated. I call the technicians. The councillor is there. But the councillor is not taking care of those things. And it should have been that they should have gone to their councillor at the ward level. But it's like the mayor is used as a sacrificial pawn. Whatever goes wrong is the mayor, you know. So I told them, I will make sure that the lights will be taken care of immediately. So I called my technicians and gave the technician the directive to make sure that things are taken care of. And then I told them, for some of your other needs, like the drains and so forth, some of the things that you said you wanted in your community, we'll be able to assist. But, you know, your community is owing the council so much. So if you can give me 2 days and then you come back, then I will be in a position to go sit with my technicians and we find out how much is owing. So they left. The following day, everything was okay. The lighting system was taken care of. And I went through the rate register. And I saw that they were owing, the community itself was owing more than what it has already paid taxes. in taxes rates. They were in areas for I don't know how many millions or thousands of dollars. So I called them again and said, now this is it. You are owing so much. What I want you to do is make an effort and you pay your arrears. And if you pay your arrears, then I will make sure that whatever you pay will be doubled. And we will put everything in your community. All the funds that you pay will be plowed back to your community. So they agreed with me, and they left, and I called the CEO and explained things to him. They never came back. They never came back.
Because of the arrears.
Yes. These are the realities. Rights goes with responsibilities. You know.
Now, you touched on a very important point in terms of one of the key challenges to the administration of municipalities, and that is revenue mobilization.
Yes.
But equally, the argument could be made that there are good revenue streams out there which municipalities, that are available to municipalities for them to enhance their revenue, collections. You talk about rates, you talk about the trade licenses, even some taxes that are levied, at the municipality taxes, at the local level. But I don't know what your experience has been during your tenure as mayor of Banjul. One of the issues that have been pointed out as to the reason why the municipalities are not realizing the revenues that they should realize is the challenge with graft. The issue of double receipting, people creating receipts, the people that go around, the tax collectors and stuff. What has been your challenge? Is that real, or is this things that people are just making up?
I think that happens everywhere. In every institution you have graft. So when grafts happen at central government level, it is misplaced priority. When it happens at the local level, it is corruption, it is embezzlement. If $1 is embezzled at the local level, it is manifested as if it is 75 million or billion. They always overemphasize the corruption at the local level, but it is everywhere. I'm not saying that it is right. You have to monitor and make sure that at least it is minimized, or if it cannot be eradicated totally, it is minimized by putting control measures. And during my time, we have been able to do that. I have inspectors that would go around to make sure that they monitor the collections in the field, and then the revenue was raised. But you have to have mechanisms in place. And it is not only talking about it, but actually doing something about it. And the only way you can do something about it is to put mechanisms. And if you don't know what the problems are, you will not be able to solve the problems. I was fortunate enough to have served as the CEO, the administrative head of the council, for almost 8 years. And I know the administration very well. So when I became mayor, as a policymaker, I know the shortcomings. And maybe that was why when I vied for a second term as mayor, they voted me out because I knew too much. So they didn't want me to come back,
Let me ask, what do you think the role of information technology is in handling some of these challenges of graft? You said when you were mayor, you had inspectors, but inspectors meant that you had to employ people that would police the people that were collecting. Yes. Is there a place for technology to take care of these challenges, or is that too soon for the Gambia, considering the challenges of electricity, for example, infrastructure that is needed?
Not as much as you have innovations in technology. But at the same time, you have to have a combination of technology and manual controls. Technology alone will not do it, because you have hawkers, people that go around selling. You cannot tell those people to come and pay to council. You cannot. The market vendors, you cannot go and tell them to be paying to council and they will be given electronic receipts and so forth. You have money changers. They pay on yearly or on monthly or whatever. And they are hawkers. They walk around. So they have no visible addresses. For those people, you cannot actually tell them to come and pay, because they will not pay and they will not volunteer to come and pay. So you have to go after them to make sure that they pay, and you control them along the way. But for established businesses, that can be computerized, and that we have done it. In fact, all the councils should have that, because through GAMWorks, all the councils' finances have been computerized. And I stand to be corrected. I don't know now, but during my time, we had a special funding through the IDB, through GAMWorks, and all the councils accounts were computerized, and financial manuals were also created. So rates, taxes, trade licenses, there shouldn't be any loopholes in those areas.
Now, I want to come to a different challenge within the municipalities, and this has to do with waste management. I'm sure, being mayor for Banjul for 12 years and CEO before that, you are very familiar with venture.
Yes, yes.
Venture used to be the challenge in those days,
yes.
And this was during the Jawara days, which, of course, was also a challenge during the Jammeh regime.
Yes.
But then we've seen the backwater dump site, and the challenges that the backwater dump site is posing for the community of backwater and its immediate environs. Is this challenge of waste management, is it something that we would ever get right? It was a challenge during the time of Jawara. We didn't seem to find a solution. It was a challenge during the Jammeh administration. We didn't find a solution. And it is a challenge currently under the Barrow administration. And even I remember on the campaign trail for the mayoral position, most of the mayors, some of them were being truthful to saying that this is not a problem that can be addressed anytime soon. And some of them said that this would not be priority, perhaps be given the challenges. What do you think is the reason why, as a country, after 52 years of independence, we still cannot get waste management right? What is the challenge?
I think population growth has compounded the situation, and then lack of education. By education, I mean sensitization, information filtering to the communities, and then institutions not actually taking their responsibilities right. The dump site in Banjul has been there for the past 75, 70 years or more. When we were kids, the dump site was there, and it has always been there, and it was managed. But over the years, there has been an explosion in terms of population, in terms of consumerism. People consume more, and there is more waste that is being generated, and yet priorities are not given. You know, it all has to do with planning. You plan for tomorrow. You know, you don't just sit on your rallies and say, this is not a priority. We have had so many approaches to waste management, and we have had so many proposals to address the situation. But then we have not been having the support from central government. Waste management is capital intensive, no doubt about it. If a municipality tells you that they can take care of waste, then I think that is just lip service. There has to be either a public-private partnership in the management of waste, or let it be privatized so that some other entity will take care of the waste. I have seen some time ago that an American company has signed a management deal or whatever with KMC or with the government or whatever for the management of waste in the Gambia, and that they were going to start operations soon. There will be the separation of waste, and then the waste will be used to generate electricity and so forth. That is not new. You know, the problem is that before you go into something, find out from those that know. Institutional memory is very important. Studies have been done. Most of the waste in the Gambia is sand that is produced by the municipalities of Banjul and KMC, and we don't generate enough waste to be able to have a power plant that will burn waste to generate electricity, unless we want to import waste from Guinea-Bissau, Senegal, and the neighboring countries. But we don't have the capacity in terms of waste generation to produce waste, electricity through waste, because of the nature of our waste. Up to now, what has happened with the project proposal is still lying somewhere, and no action has started. So what needs to be done is to have a stakeholders meeting and invite the stakeholders, and then have a strategic plan for the management of waste, not only in 1 or 2 municipalities, because the problem in the 2 municipalities will tomorrow be the same in all the other municipalities in the country. So have a countrywide waste management, comprehensive waste management program.
Well, Dr. Samba, we'll have to leave it, Dr. Fall, we'll have to leave it, at that. It has been a very enlightening program, and when you talk to political scientists, you always learn something new. And I think the takeaway from this program is the politics of deceit, the politics of development, and centralized decentralization.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you on the program.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you
very much.